What's up, guys? We're back with another episode of Pound for Pound. I am the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman.
Henry Cejudo, aka Triple C.
A Shadow Line production.
Man, Henry, first of all, it's good to see you. You know, it's been a few days. We haven't seen each other, but it's great to see you. I'm doing this show right now, and it's obviously this is our obligation, but it's a little tough for me right now because of what my brother Francis Ngannou is dealing with right now. I mean, as a parent, as a father, to have to hear the news that you just lost your child is I can't even put it into words how heartbreaking that is. A couple of years ago, we went through it with my younger brother Muhammad Usman, who lost his son. But to hear my brother Francis lose his son right now, it's extremely heavy on my heart, Henry. I don't even know what to say, man. I don't even want to say. I'm mourning for my man right now. I'm hurting for him. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard, Kamaru. I mean, we saw the text from Francis Ngannou, and just him kind of pleading with people. How's it that he could cope with this? To a lot of questions mark, like how life is unfair, and I'm just like, it hits home, man. It hits home because we just don't know this game called life, dude. Obviously, you just said it, man. Your older, your brother lost his kid. You know what I mean? You lost your nephew. I lost my sister this year. Mike Tyson has lost his little girl a few years back. There's just a lot, but there's just a lot that we had to deal with, and my heart is heavy, man. My heart is heavy. I think the whole MMA world, the whole MMA community, I know their heart is heavy, and it's hard, man. I was talking to my wife about it today, and she doesn't even know Francis, but she can relate to a fighter and how is it that our lives tend to go, and it's unfortunate. I hope Francis Ngannou can somehow find some peace in this crazy time, in this turmoil, but there's nothing else. There's nothing else that I could say, Kamara, but say, my condolences. I'm super sorry to hear that. But I think, I was reading a lot of the comments when people were talking about Francis Ngannou. Was like, hey, man, you're going to have to dig deeper. Like, literally, how Francis was out, in Africa, digging ditches back in the days. This is the biggest hole you're going to have to come out of and dig yourself out of. And I can't put myself in your shoes, Francis, so I don't know. But what I do know, man, is that life goes on, and you're going to have to find a way to not be bitter about the situation, but find a way to be better. And I don't have the answers, Kamaru. It's hard, man.
Yeah, Henry, you're right. And it's obviously when things happen to us, it's extremely difficult to be able to deal with it because we have to find a way to be able to dig ourselves out. Because it's just you up here. Life is about our memories, what we make along the way. Like they say, it's about the journey. And this is a very, very difficult obstacle to be able to get through. But, that Francis is my brother, and I will try to be there for him in any way possible. And I know the MMA community, just the world, the combat sports world, is heartbreaks for him. I know DC actually texted me today, and also Caleb Plant, boxer, just basically want to send their condolences to Francis. We love you, and we're behind you 100%, my brother. And I'm doing the best that I can to be there for him. But Henry, how are you? How are you? How's the family? How's everything?
It's good, but I think with this whole Francis situation, man, it just puts things into perspective, man. Like, I'm here in Portugal right now with the family, and it's like, I'll be quite honest with you, bro, it's a bit draining. I feel a bit drained, and I'm not close to Francis like yourself or like other people from Extreme Couture, but, trying to do our best to enjoy, Portugal, and I got two little young ones, but enjoy my time with my family because we never know when our time is up, man. So that's it, Kamaru. Just enjoy this beautiful time. I'm a bit under the weather Two on top of it for some freaking stuffy. So it's not the audio. It's literally me.
Oh
But,
man, I thought you were just eating bread all night, bread and drinking tequila. My bad.
I wish, dude. I wish that was the case. You don't want me drinking right now, dude. That wouldn't be good.
All right, Henry, my man. Let's switch gears for a little bit. UFC 301 going down this weekend. Alexandre Pantoja taking on the young gun here, Henry. And this man, the way that, the way he's been looking lately, I'm low-key kind of shook. I'm low-key shook. The way he's been looking, I mean, and I believe he's Australian, isn't he? An Australian that can wrestle the way he can and his striking to be as calm as it is. Man, bro, what is it? How do you say his last name? It's Erceg. Am I saying it correctly?
Erceg.
Steve Erceg.
Erceg.
Is it Erceg or Erceg?
Steve Erceg.
Erceg.
Oh, okay, my man. You know I hate to butcher names. Let's hear the pronunciation.
Steve Erceg.
Erceg. Okay,
Erceg.
Steve Erceg. Okay, fantastic fight. Let's break down this main card. Let's start with the first fight, because that main championship fight, that's the one that we're really gonna focus on, because it's a banging fight. I know that Erceg doesn't have a lot of fights yet in the UFC, but it's a banging fight. And let's just look at this. First of all, we got to go to this video that I saw. We have to go to the video that I saw online, and this is a video once again of people trying to downplay the card. So this fight card, this pay-per-view card, UFC 301. Check out this video that we seen. Check this out.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Listen, this is
Dude, that's funny, man.
the internet keep busting shots all day, every day, and they don't miss when they shoot. But Dana just showed you guys last month, don't talk trash on this card, on the UFC, because they're strategic and they put these cards together systematically. They're banging fights that are going to blow your socks off each and every time. As we mentioned, this might not have been the biggest blockbuster name-wise, but these are banging fights that at the end of the night, you're going to be like, oh, crap. I'm glad I was able to tune into that. But going into that main card, first fight, we're taking Paul Craig taking on, say his name for me. I know it's Kyle. How you say his last name? Kyle. Are you sure? Kyle.
Borral.
Borral.
You know what? You get to look. I
Borral.
was thinking the same thing, but this is.
Yeah.
Can we pull him up too?
I'm Portuguese. Go ahead, say it. I want to hear that. Borral.
Yeah, Caio Borral.
I'm Brazilian on my daughter's cousin's uncle, brother, sister's auntie side, So the way I got the tongue, the way I say it, Caio, Borral. You see how that comes out? You think I'm from Rio, don't you? Yeah.
You mind, man? Have you seen the movie City of Gods, dude?
No, I haven't. I heard it's a great movie.
Oh, it's a great movie. You gotta watch it, Kush. But anyways, you look like one of those freaking. You be one of those kingpins, dude.
The good looking dudes, the good looking kingpins.
Be the one.
I knew it.
You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. But thinking about the
first fight.
Yeah, thinking about this fight, man. I tell you what, Caio is super underrated, man. The dude could wrestle. The dude could box. The dude could do a lot of things that a typical Brazilian can't, and he can mix it. He surprised me by beating a lot of these, beating a lot of these Russians, out wrestling a lot of these guys, but also his hands. He as good at he's a good mixture of what you call a great fighter. When a great fighter beats a great competitor, he's a mixture of both. Because I also will say this, I want to say his last fight wasn't the best performance, but the fact that he was simply able to win and just carry the win, it says a lot about him. And I think there's a competitor in him that's underrated, but he's also going up against a fighter who has submitted a former champion in Jamal Hill, with that crazy armbar. But looking at this fight as a whole, I just feel like they're giving Borral a very tough fight in Brazil, but I think stylistically, I cannot count this bout out. I believe his hands, his feet, the way he mixes his fighting, he's very explosive off of his takedowns. And let's not forget about his jiu-jitsu, his counter jiu-jitsu. But he's a beast on top. So when I think of this fight, I think Paul Craig has his hands full.
Yeah, it's a very, very good fight. I think a very good fight because both guys are this is a great matchup. I think Mick Maynard and these guys, Hunter and Sean, they did a great job with this one. I think Caio, if I remember, funny thing about Caio is I met him a couple years back while I was at the PI training, and he asked me a couple questions about takedowns, how I do certain takedowns. And off rip, I didn't really, I think I've seen him fight before, but I didn't really know him. But that spoke volumes to me because it was like, man, this guy is already here in the UFC. He's already doing well, but seeking more and more knowledge, looking for ways. And this was after he had trained at the PI, by the way, but just looking for ways to kind of just elevate and change his game a little bit. So, I have seen him fight after that, and he mixes very well. He can wrestle. He's not just, a Brazilian that has jiu-jitsu. He can wrestle as well. And this is one thing that just kind of starts to set people apart. When you're very, very good on the ground, but now you can control the real estate of how to take it to the ground or maybe stop the fight from going to the ground. And his stand-up is a bit underrated as well. I think it just needs a little bit more confidence there. But I think this is a great fight. Of course, Paul Craig, excellent jiu-jitsu. If he's on his back, you got to watch out because he might put you in a crazy triangle. He's very good on his back, and his confidence has only grown bigger and bigger each and every fight as he was getting those wins over some really, really good guys. I think this is an excellent matchup, and I think here this is going to be a tough one for both guys. I think it's a tough fight, but I know which direction I'm leaning towards. I don't want to tell you just yet, Henry. We'll go through our pick, but I know which direction I'm leaning towards.
Okay, all righty. Well, let's
move
on.
So we move on to the next fight. Next fight, we've got Michel Pereira taking on, what is that? Igor. Is that Igor? Igor.
Yeah, Igor.
Potier.
Potier.
Let's hear that. You said Potier. He's Ukraine, so I definitely know it's not Potier. Because that sounded like a Brazilian accent. Can we hear the pronunciation of his name, please?
Igor Potieria.
Potieria. Oh, Henry, you was on the money with it.
Igor Potieria.
Igor Potieria. You on the money with it, Henry.
He's Ukrainian, huh?
Yeah. This is a fantastic fight. This is an excellent fight. I think this was the kid that took the fight on short notice, went in there and beat up, who was that? He took the fight on short notice and he went in there and got the W. And he said, give me, I was out of shape, but I'll be better next fight. This is a fantastic fight. Once again, another test for Michel Pereira up at middleweight. After missing weight, of course, you have said, hey, you're not going to make this weight. You're going to bump up. And he bumped up to middleweight and he's doing well. So I would like to see him stay here because making that big cut all the way down to welterweight kind of drained some of these guys. So I would like to see him stay here and kind of make some waves in this division. But this is a fantastic fight. Of course, Michel Pereira, he's very dynamic. He's very crazy. Once he gets in the zone, my man turns into the drunken master. He's running off of cages. He's doing backflips, doing backspin. He's doing everything you can think of. Everything I wouldn't do in a fight, he's doing, and he's successful with it, Henry. So,
yeah,
I like this one. I like this fight.
Yeah, talk about somebody who's truly unorthodox and talk about somebody who's unique. And at the same time, his recklessness is what makes Michel Pereira dangerous. But it's also a double-edged sword because he does exert a lot of energy with his theatrics and jumping on the cage and his explosive movements. Because at the same time, if I was to adjust him too, if I'm his coach, I'd be like, hey man, let's use some of that, but let's get some basics, and every once in a while surprise him with a little bit of that bag. But Michel Pereira tends to do that quite a bit, and then it gets a good technical. Anybody and everybody who's from Eastern Europe, like a guy from Igor, they come from a good school. So when you get a good unorthodox fighter against a good technical fighter, I mean that's a matchup that's gonna equal fireworks. I mean he's 6'3", man. Like he's a tall middleweight, man. Like these dudes, like what are they feeding these damn dudes? These guys are just getting taller and taller. I feel like as time goes on, dude, it's crazy to think of a guy like Jalen Turner, welterweight, 6'3". It's like what the hell? Like what is that, man? Why are you in this sport? You should be playing basketball. But anyhow, to go back to that fight, Michel Pereira is fighting in Rio against an Igor who's going to go out there and literally take chances and who's basically sound. And Michel's going up a weight division, which he's been there. I do believe that I do believe that Michel no longer has the ability to make welterweight, but he's going up against a good technical fighter. And I don't know, man. Kamaru call me crazy, but I'm smelling a damn upset.
That's the one thing. See, I actually watched fights. Michel Pereira was at welterweight. So anyone that's in the welterweight division at the point where I was champion, whether they know it or not, I watched them. I studied them. I seen them. And the one thing that's very deceiving about Michel Pereira is the fact that, yeah, he's crazy. Yeah, he's unorthodox. Yeah, he's jumping off cage. He's doing backflips. He's doing all this crazy shit. At the same time, he's extremely technical when he wants to be. You saw it when he fought Zaleem, my guy. When he fought Zaleem, he was technical. He was so technical. He was so dominant in that fight. My man started slapping him. That was one of the most disrespectful things. He would pick his hand up. He would show you and say, "I'm gonna smack you," and then smacked him. Like they showed. That's some of the most disrespectful things that I've seen inside the octagon. But yeah. My man, Michel, he can be very technical when he wants to, but if he starts feeling it and he gets in the zone, it's a problem. He is a problem. But this is a great fight. I do believe he has to be sound here because yes, Ihor will definitely capitalize. He's very long with his strikes and yeah, he is good enough to be technical. And potentially find something that could hurt Michel Pereira. But my man, this is a fantastic fight. I want to move past it because I want to give you my keys a little bit. That's gonna kind of bring it all together and let you know where I'm going with it. I don't want to just tell you where I'm leaning with the fight yet. But Henry, my man is technical. So just because he's crazy, don't think he's not technical.
Yeah. Well, moving on.
Next fight. We are up in light heavyweight. We've got, of course, Anthony Smith taking on Victor Petrino. I mean, this, and I think I did see when, because Anthony Smith, as I remember, was working the desk, and Victor Petrino had his previous victory, and he called for Anthony Smith. He called him out while Anthony Smith was on the desk, and I know it's a tough one to be able to deal with because I do know what it's like to be on the desk. You're working and then, someone has a good performance and they're calling you out. At some point, it kind of feels like, bro, I'm calling the fights. I'm trying to give you as much props as I can, but you're going to call me out? All right. Now I got to beat you. Now I got to beat on you. You want to call me out? You want to talk trash? Now I got to show you why you don't talk trash to me. But Victor Petrino, big, strong, solid guy. And I think Anthony Smith is kind of at that crossroads. He's been in the game for a long, long time. He's got tons and tons of fights. And he's fought a lot of who's in that division, if not everybody. And so Anthony Smith, I think for him, it's a career move. It's like, hey, can I really lock back in, go in here and get rid of this young gun? Or is this young gun going to let me know that it's time for me to potentially move on? So I'm excited for this matchup because I do believe Anthony Smith is very, very dangerous. I do think he's still got a little bit of tread left in that tire. And yes, man, I mean, he's
37 and
Smith was-
19, Kamaru.
Anthony
Golly.
Smith was fighting before I even thought about MMA. He was already professional fighting lots of fights before I even knew about the sport. When was his first fight? His first fight was when? Is that 2000 and 2008? 2008, Anthony Smith fought his first fight. In 2008, I was trying to win a national championship in college. That was it. I didn't even know about MMA like that.
Yeah, 2008. I won the damn Olympics. That was a great year for me, but
Yeah.
just throwing it out there.
We know, Triple C. We know. Damn it. But hey, Anthony Smith, I do believe he's on that crossroads right now, Henry. And I think this fight's going to let him know which direction he should move towards.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think just looking at those 19 losses and watching Vitor Petrino just progress, and he's a freaking stallion, man. He's like the new generation of young guns. When we talk about the guys that are kind of coming in and really making a difference, I mean, the guy has power in his hands. The guy has that crazy left hook, dude, that could just lay anybody out. His ability, just having that one-hitter quitter, is absolutely second to none. But I just feel like Anthony Smith, if it was a 5-round fight, I may be geared towards a guy like Anthony Smith. But with Vitor Petrino, with the power in his hands, his wrestling, the fact that he's a strong body, and he's also strong, and he's undefeated, guys, it's just a combination, man. His timing is absolutely ridiculous. It takes one shot, and this guy's literally putting you out. So I do believe at light heavyweight, this guy's one of those guys that you just want to be careful with and really keep your eye on, because this guy's young, he's hungry, and he's able to finish people the way he has been. I mean, talk about the dude that's coming from the contenders and putting everybody on notice. I mean, one-hitter quitters, whether it's that left hook, that right hand. I'm just not too sure with Anthony Smith and those 19 losses. That's a lot of fights. I mean, that's a lot of wear and tear. Could he get past a young gun like that? I mean, he literally, Kamaru, has three times the MMA experience, but that could also be the downfall too, because that's a lot of wear and tear, Kamaru.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think this is another amazing fight. Like, I know that the names might not be the biggest right now, but this is an amazing fight to basically tell the story here. And the story here is a guy like Vitor Petrino. He's looking to really emerge as a new contender in that division. And if you look at Vitor Petrino, he does have holes. He's not just, yes, he's 11-0, he's 7 finishes, but he does have holes. As you saw in that clip, he's throwing the left hook. His hands are down, and he's kind of looking away, as he's throwing the left hook. A guy like Anthony Smith can't be able to look at that, look at video and say, hey, I know I can throw a straight right hand as long as I make sure that I'm protected. Throw that long, straight right hand there, right on the chin, and potentially teach this young gun that, hey, I can touch him as well. So it's not that Vitor Petrino can't be touched. He can be. But at the same time, Anthony Smith does tend to kind of carry his hands very low. And in the recent fights, he has shown that he can be hit a lot. So I think this is a great fight that the matchmakers put together to be able to basically tell the story here. Anthony Smith, is this goodbye for me? Or Vitor Petrino, am I arrived on the scene now as a new contender? So I love this fight, and I'll give my pick here in a little bit. So we're gonna move on from there into the co-main event of the evening. Fantastic fight. The King of Rio is back. You got Jonathan Martinez taking on the King of Rio, Jose Aldo. I mean, hey, we've all seen what Jose Aldo's done in Rio. We've seen the famous clip that I love. I mean, you can't not love that clip. Jose Aldo breaks the. This is how much I know the clip, Henry. He hand control up against the cage, breaks the lock, spins around, right knee to Chad Mendes' face. Boom, he's out cold. Boom, Jose Aldo hops. He looks here. He runs to the side of the cage. Says, nah. Hops over the cage. Boom, guess what? Before you know it, he was in the crowd. Boom, bing, bing. He gets off. Look at the clip. He looks. Nope. I'm out. Nope. Out. gone out through the door. Next thing you know, look at the crowd. He's in the audience. I mean, this was one of the most legendary clips out there from the UFC. And man, the king of Rio, Jose Aldo, is back after taking his stint away, boxing, showing that. And just, I think he needed to do that for himself. He needed to let himself know that, hey, I still got some tread left. I can still do this. So he's going to jump back in here and look to still make a run at this. But Jonathan Martinez is a guy that you don't sleep on because he's going to let you know real quick if you still got some tread left or not. So I'm excited for this fight. This is a fantastic co-main event. And, Brazil got another fantastic fight.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. But we're also talking about a young gun, too, with Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez has literally stopped two people back-to-back with leg kicks. He's a southpaw that's very dangerous. He loves to throw those leg kicks, and he's dangerous, Kamaru. This is one guy that kind of seems like he's 19-4 for crying out loud. But if you watch the way he stopped Cub Swanson, man, a veteran with the game with legs. I mean, there's something about this guy being a southpaw, and there's something that makes it special about him kicking and having the ability to stop Adrian Yanez and Cub Swanson. I mean, he's one of those guys that really believes in those kicks. But would he be able to get away with that with a guy like Jose Aldo, with a guy that comes from a fundamental Muay Thai background that has seen everything from kicks, knees, and elbows? I do believe if Jose Aldo, when it just comes to strictly boxing, I will have to give Jose Aldo that help. But with the kicks involved too, it makes it a little trickier. Will Jose Aldo check those kicks, or will he evade? Could this be the rise and then continuation of the King of Rio, or could this be the swan song for him, whether he win or loses? That's one co-main event that I do want to keep my eyes on.
Yes, Henry, I hear you. But when have you ever seen Jose Aldo taking crazy kicks and not be able to defend himself?
Yeah,
he's the king of kicking.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, definitely. Jonathan Martinez, I think, can pose a big threat here. But whether he wants to go hands, whether he wants to go kicks, I think Jose Aldo's ready for it. But I think Jonathan Martinez has to go to something else, and that's the grappling and the wrestling. Besides that, Jose Aldo has as much chance as anyone else. Now we move on to our main event of the. Hold on, do they not know we working? Who are calling me right now, man? Hello? Yes. The disrespect, Henry. Are you serious right now? Jesus.
Oh yeah, who called you, man? Don't tell me.
You know what? I don't even want to tell you that, Henry, because we live right now. I don't even want to tell you that. You know, you might have me out here. You might have me out here. You know, them peoples is looking for me. You know, out in the streets right now.
Probably a former cousin. When they find out how much money Kamaru Usman gives out to the people. Shit, I'd be calling you too.
Hey, really? Stop this, because I think you're a part of the problem. You perpetuate this, and this is why I continuously get emails and DMs. I was getting PayPal requests at some point. It's so disrespectful. Back to this fight, back to the main event of the evening. We got Alexandre Pantoja taking on Steve Erceg. I think this is a fantastic card. Of course, a lot of people, a fantastic main event. I think a lot of people were saying, oh, yeah, we want this guy. But you already have a fantastic main event because Alexandre Pantoja had a great fight his last fight. It was a tough fight. It was tough, but he pulled out the decision. But he's going up against when I say young gun, I mean a real young gun. A real young gun. In Steve Erceg. I mean, for an Australian, his wrestling is, I mean, did you see that? What was it? The video on him and how he was down blocking shots and spinning around? I'm like, what is this? His wrestling is crazy. His distance control is fantastic. His combination is smooth, relentless. I mean, he's just sharp. I mean, I think this could be. How many fights in the UFC does he have? I think maybe like 2 or 3. Three fights.
He's got 3 fights in the UFC.
Three fights in the U. And this is Henry. Is this not the story now? This is what we're seeing more and more of these young guns that are already seasoned outside coming into the UFC in less than 4 or 5 fights. These guys are getting title shots and these guys are becoming world champions. We saw it with Ilia Topuria. I think he came into UFC maybe 4 fights, fought for the title, and he's now a world champion and one of the fastest growing stars the UFC has. You got Steve Erceg stepping in now. 3 fights, already fighting for the title, and I think he's as big of a threat as anyone has ever been in that division. Steve Erceg.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Steve Erceg, man. I tell you what, something about Steve Erceg is he's super technical. He's 11-1. He doesn't have that many fights, but the person that has to make the adjustments in this fight is not Steve Erceg because he's a technical guy. The person that has to bring the fight is going to be a guy like Alexander Pantoja. Because I tell you what, Steve Erceg does a really good job of countering. I mean, you saw the fight that the few fights that he had against Match Now and the other Polish guy. How is it that he was able to catch up off of them trying to brawl with this dude? This guy goes high low. He has a great right hand, and also he has that great hook. He's super technical. He's super tactical. Now, will a guy like Alexander Pantoja be able to prove that he could beat a guy that's coming in because that guy has nothing to lose and everything to win? You know, call me crazy, but stylistically, I think a lot of people are sleeping on this guy, sleeping on Steve Erceg because people don't really know about him. He wins this fight, but this could become one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, Kamaru.
Well, I don't want to throw that word around in UFC history. God.
With 3 fights, ranked number 12 in the world, to come out and beat the guy who has beaten the guy. I mean, Kamaru, it's got to be up there. You guys may not know about it, but when it comes down to number Kamaru Usman, numbers don't lie.
No. You're right, but it's not. I like the theme song. I like you singing that theme song because it is like just picking a guy from the card, that could be sleeping. But Steve Erceg is no Rocky. Steve Erceg can fight, and he can fight very, very well. This, I don't think, will be the biggest upset because I definitely believe that Steve Erceg possesses the tools to potentially win this fight. And you are right, Henry. I agree with you once again. It's Alexander Pantoja that needs to make the adjustment because he has to somehow find a way to make this into a brawl. If he stays pretty and he stays technical, I think he gets put away. So I think he's got to fight like he fights. Get crazy. Get in there. Mix it up. Go up and down. Land your strikes. Land your kicks. Then go for the takedowns. And then let him up. Or he gets up. You take him back down again. He has to be able to go through that mixture. But I don't think it's the biggest upset because Steve Erceg is a guy, unlike Rocky, can actually really fucking fight. Eventually, we found out Rocky could fight. But Steve Erceg, I think, has the skills to be able to fight. I just think he's number 12 only because he has 3 fights in the UFC with the record of 12-1. I love the fight. I think this is a fantastic main event. I mean, once again, this is the year of new stars being born. We've already seen it, Ilia Topuria. We've already seen it, Sean O'Malley, and potentially maybe Merab Dvalishvili. We've seen it. Merab is now really at the peak of the most popular he's ever been. So, we have a lot of new guys. Freaking Dricus du Plessis. There's a lot of rising stars right now. I think it's a turning, and I think Steve Erceg might be a new guy to add to that. So that is it for UFC 301. But my brother Henry, I think we gotta make our picks here before we go. I ain't want to really jump into it, but I want to make our picks here before we go. Let's start with that first fight on that main card. We got Paul Craig taking on Kyle Borralho.
Yeah.
Caio Borralho. I'm gonna go with. I love Paul Craig, and I think he's very, very good, my Scottish friend. But I'm gonna go with Caio Borralho.
Yeah, same here, Kamaru. I think he's too much. He's too young. He's fighting in his backyard. He's got power in his hands. He's got the jiu-jitsu, and obviously, I think where he's more likely probably going to take the fight at ground and pound is going to be with his wrestlers. So for that reason, I am going with Caio Borralho.
I agree. I go with Kyle. So we move on to the next fight. We got Michel Pereira taking on Igor Portieria.
Yeah.
Potieria. I'm going with Michel Pereira. I think he's underrated. How solid he is, and I think this might be another opportunity for him to show just how solid he really is. So I'm going with Michel Pereira.
Yeah, I just feel like every time there's a fighter from an Eastern country, but they're so technical, they're so tactical that I feel like, and especially the fact that Michelle is actually going back up to middleweight, I think this guy can produce power. And I'm smelling an upset, so for that reason, I'm going Puteria.
Potier. Nice one. Nice one. We move on to our next fight taking place in the light heavyweight division. The old lion, Anthony Lionheart Smith, taking on Vitor, not Victor, Vitor Petrino. I love the fight. It's just I don't really know. My big thing here is I love to pick Anthony Smith. I think he definitely has the ability to get it done, but I don't know how his training situation is. I don't know if he's moved to Factory S. I don't know if he still goes to Factory X with those guys. Mark Montoya? I don't know if he's still there full time, or I don't know if he has his own gym full time. I know he works on the desk with myself. So this one is very, very tough here to really know how sharp or any improvements that Anthony Smith has made. So with that alone, I'm going to go with Vitor Petrino. And that's if I'm a betting man. I'm going to bet Vitor Petrino, but my heart does want Anthony Smith to be able to pull this one off.
I tell you what, Kamaru, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this guy has 3 times the experience of a guy like Vitor Pacino, but for that reason too, it could also be his biggest downfall. I mean, 37 wins and 19 losses. I mean, that's absolutely. I mean, that dude's got pretty much 60 fights in this damn game. Like it's crazy how many fights that Anthony Smith has. There's a reason why they call him Lionheart is because he's been through a lot. He's a hard dude to stop. But because he has been stopped and gets a one-hitter quitter, and a guy like Petrino, like Vitor, has from right hands to left hooks, he touches you. That's what they say in Brazil. They say, Boa noite, Cinderella, which means good night, Cinderella. So for that reason, I'm going with Vitor Petrino by knockout.
Wow. Really? You just gonna one up me and say how he gonna finish him too? Disrespectful. Disrespectful. But we move on to the co-main event of the evening. We got Jonathan Martinez taking on the King of Rio, Jose Aldo. Jonathan Martinez, young, streaky guy, very, 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 very talented. But I think people are forgetting just how difficult it was to be able to get a guy like Jose Aldo down. One of the best wrestlers in recent memories that did try that was Chad Mendez, and he was unsuccessful in doing that. Banging fights, by the way, with Jose Aldo. Both fights were extremely, extremely good fights. But I think Jose Aldo is kind of starting to turn the tide and find his niche again. So with that, I'm going to go with the King of Rio, Jose Aldo, especially if this fight stays standing.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think there's a reason when you get to that level, Kamaru, you're able to kind of somewhat pick your points. I do believe Jose Aldo literally picked Jonathan Martinez. You know what, Jonathan? You're the young gun. You're coming up. You stop people with leg kicks, something that I used to do back in the day, stopping Cub Swanson and Adrian Yanez. But will that work against a guy who knows Muay Thai? Will that work a guy who has better hands? He may not. And Jose Aldo may strayed away from his kicks, but when it comes to just using the hands, Jose Aldo, I do have to say he's actually better. Jonathan Martinez, you may be good, but are you Rio de Janeiro good? Are you king of real good? I just don't think so. For that reason, too, I'm going Jose Aldo by decision, or who knows? We may see one of those infamous right knees to come up to Klaku and to eventually get the finish.
And we move on to our main event. Alexandre Pantoja taking on Steve Erceg. I love this fight. Like I said, I think this is a fantastic main event, even though a lot of you might be sleeping on it, talking about, ew, brother, what's that? Ew. Listen, don't sleep on this fight. Ew, brother.
You gotta do the hands. Do the hands, come on.
Ew. Don't sleep on this card. I'm going with the upset here. I'm going with the 12-1 young gun. I'm going with Steve Erceg. I think it's too solid. Who you got?
Oh wow, really, man? You go with the damn Kamaru. I mean, it's hard to go. I mean, the person that has to make those adjustments, it is Alexander Pantoja. I mean, Alexander Pantoja, number one, he has to create fights. He has to create fights because the more he gets this guy to throw, the more he could actually get those takedowns to eventually take them back and do what he does best is submit, to take it to the ground. Because with the technical guy that has great counter and great ability of anticipation, Steve Erceg is a problem. But I don't think he has gone with those high caliber fighters that he's been able to go for fighters. Remember, man, a guy like Alexander Pantoja has gone 5 rounds with the best guys in the world. We're talking about Brandon Moreno. He's fought in Davidson Figueiredo. He's fought in Mikhail Cave. He's fought in. I mean, he's fought Matt Schnell. He's fought the best in that division, and I do believe that he's still young in this division because he's a scrapper. And maybe I'm a little biased, Kamaru, because he is a friend of mine, but I just gotta go with him just based on experience and based on the fact that he's fighting in his own damn backyard, and that's something powerful to say. This man is from Rio. He's gonna fight in Rio, and I think for that reason, I can see a guy like Alexander Pantoja not just winning, but possibly getting the finish between the 4th and 5th round.
I like that. I mean, I like the breakdown. I like your pick. That's a great pick. You know, I'm going with something different here. I think this is the time and the era of these young guns coming in and really starting to show kind of a new wave, new evolution of the sport. I think Steve Erceg could potentially be a new evolution, but I could be wrong. And this is the type of fight that the champion has to go back and show this young challenger, hey, it's not your time yet. So I love your pick, but I'm going to stay with my pick, Steve Erceg, for the upset here. And yeah, that is it for our UFC 301 going down in Rio de Janeiro this Saturday. You don't want to miss that pay-per-view. But also this Saturday, Henry, is it this Saturday? There's something going on, right? Is something else going on?
We have Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia.
Your best friend, Canelo.
Hey,
Yeah.
who's about to be your best friend if you were to get that scrap, Kamaru?
Hey, you know, after I finish him, you know, we gotta be cool. We gotta be friends, you know. But unfortunately, it didn't materialize.
How was that payday gonna look like, Kamaru, if you would have got that fight?
Let's just say we probably wouldn't be doing this show right now, Henry.
Ew,
brother.
Well,
Yes.
I tell you what, with Canelo Alvarez, what he's been able to do in boxing has been an incredible thing. I mean, it was between Jaime Munguia and David Benavidez, and guess what, Kamaru? I know you hate to hear the truth at times, but he picked the lower competitor. He picked Jaime Munguia. He's an undefeated fighter. He's a young kid. He's 27 years old. I mean, the dude has a bright future ahead of him. He's Mexican style, which fits a guy like Canelo Alvarez, who's super explosive and super witty. I mean, not only do I see Canelo Alvarez winning this fight, but I see him winning in a fashion where it could be a 12-round shutdown, or who knows, man, Canelo could possibly hurt him to eventually take him out. But with a guy like Jaime Munguia, he can take a hit. He's big-headed. He's thick. He's got like that Mayan blood in him. He's going to be hard to finish, but I can see Canelo Alvarez by decision, unanimous decision, or would he possibly all 12 rounds?
This is it's an excellent fight. Canelo Alvarez taking on Jaime Munguia. Yeah, of course. I got to be honest with you. You're right, Henry. He had a choice. He could have went this one or that one, but he chose to defend that super middleweight title, I believe, against Jaime Munguia, who is, of course, everyone wanted him to go with Benavidez. But nonetheless, it's a fight that Canelo's done so much in the sport, and he's kind of, I believe, is kind of at the tail end of his career. So he chose Jaime Munguia. Yes, of course, he's a young, undefeated guy, but I don't think and a fight's a fight. I think the story here is, how does Jaime Munguia approach this fight? Do you approach the fight being thankful for the opportunity that Saul Canelo Alvarez just gave you and be respectful out there? Or are you going to go out there and be, which is, I think is the theme of 2024, the year of the disrespect by these young guns coming in. These young guns are very disrespectful. They don't care what you've done in the sport. They're going to come in there and try to knock your head off. Is he going to take that approach and go in there and try to knock Canelo's head off? Because a lot of people are sleeping on him, but at the end of the day, a fight's a fight. And if you go out there and you show this veteran that you are not afraid of him, and you take the fight to him, wonderful things could potentially happen. So that's the approach that I don't know what he's taking, which approach he's taking. I've watched the fight of Jaime Munguia. I haven't seen tons of his fights, but that's what's going to be the telling point, is how he's approaching this. And you're going to know within that first 4 minutes what that approach is. And if he's not taking that approach to bring the fight to Canelo Alvarez, I think Canelo Alvarez stops him in eight rounds, because Canelo is still Canelo. Yes, he might not move as much. He might not box as much as he did when he boxed Triple G. But my man, he's got power. He's got the hands. He's still Canelo Alvarez. And I think if Jaime Munguia does not bring the fight to him, Jaime Munguia will be stopped within 8.
Damn. Fire, Kamaru. You speaking facts over here. Jesus, man. All right, man. Well, who knows, Kamaru? Maybe in September, maybe he will fight the likes of David Benavidez, which is a fight that everybody wants to make, but that's a whole other subject. I have fun, Kamaru. Obviously, we had technical difficulties. Obviously, I'm in Portugal right now, guys, so excuse me for that. But UFC 300 is going to be on fire with Alexander Pantoja versus the newcomer is Steve Erceg. I mean, we have the return of Jose Aldo, which I used to call Jose Baldo. I mean, there's a lot of good fights up there. There's a lot of rising stars up there that are looking to take place. And I am just excited to watch an action-packed of fights this Saturday, Kamaru. I couldn't be more excited, man.
Yes, me too. And I will be watching. You will be watching UFC 301, Rio de Janeiro, and Saul Canelo Alvarez taking on Jaime Munguia in boxing. It is Cinco de Mayo weekend, so make sure you have your cerveza available and you watch these amazing nights of fights. I am the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman.
Henry Cejudo, a.k.a. Triple C.
We are out.